The Justin Robert Young program brought to you as always by everybody who supports us right here at payjurydaily.com. Brings you to our Patreon. We got a Patreon. You're going to have a good time on the Patreon. You're going to make sure that this show continues to go. You want to be a part of the show? You want to take it to the next level? You want to do it? Well, we do it. We do it right here on the JuRY program. So go ahead and head on over there. payjurydaily.com. Again, payjurydaily.com. And also, I'm talking to you, Texas. I'm talking to you, anybody going to the South by Southwest Festival, South by Southwest Interactive in less than 2 weeks now. March 9th, the North Door Theater. It is the South by So Wasted show that will take the concept of the South by So Wasted shows and explode it into the stratosphere, folks. This is the moment you've waited for. It is a 3-hour spectacular, and man, this thing is jam-packed to the gills. A live recording of Night Attack, a live recording of Ice Cream Social, musical performances by Dual Core and the Possum Posse. Also, special guests up to and including the Whiskey Tribe. Up to and including Tom Merritt of Daily Tech News Show. Up to and including Andrew Heaton of Something's Off with Andrew Heaton and Willie Dills Gregory. Oh, my good God. This is the time. This is the moment. Go ahead and pause this podcast. And using whatever voice assistant you have, be it Android or iOS, you can go ahead and just say podcastlink.com/night attack. Go ahead and try it right now. Podcastlink.com/night attack. It'll bring you right to the site where you can buy your tickets. Again, this is March 9th. Doors are at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a daytime show, runs for over 3 hours, and you are going to be able to experience life the way you've never experienced it before. Go ahead and check it out. All right, that about wraps it up for the plugs. What do you say we go ahead and stop talking about how we support the show, and we just do the damn thing?
On the day that we met on the internet, I asked her for a photograph.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the JuRY Daily Podcast. My name is Justin Robert Young. I come to you at a crossroads. Yeah, it's not what you might think. My relationship with my wife is fine. It's very rarely in our relationship been better, actually. No, it's not the fact that I got a birthday coming up, and sometimes those make you think about where you are and where you're going. There's no big, gigantic personal news when it comes to my career on the horizon. No, what I bring to you today is far more personal and relatable, by the way. I think we've all been at this crossroads. We can all understand what I'm going through right now. I have to make a choice on whether or not I stay or I go. Whether or not I am going to leave the only airline reward program I've ever known. Yes, friends, the question now for Justin Robert Young is, should I no longer become an exclusive member of the United Airlines family? I know, we've all been through here. I'm going to rely on your guys' feedback throughout this week because I'm going to break down exactly how much this means, exactly how we are going to handle this. And we're going to start here. How I fell in love. Yes. Where I was back when I was a younger man. Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday, friends. I first fell in love 6 years ago when I moved out to the Bay Area, and I took a job at a company that had me travel. Now, I never really flew. I mean, I flew a little bit, but I would always just fly on whatever the best price was. You know, I would bargain hunt for the right price, and then I would fly. And if I had the choice, right, prior to this, I would try to fly. I always really liked JetBlue. JetBlue started flying when I was in college, and they were one of the few airlines to go direct from Syracuse to Fort Lauderdale. So I grew to have an affinity for them. And I liked the fact that JetBlue was moving things kind of forward. They had the TVs in the back of the headrests. So let me make this clear. I know I'm playing a bit of a shitheel character here, but the only reason why I made, and I believe anybody who is listening to me right now, if you are in a situation where your company is buying your flights, you owe it to yourself to only fly on one airline. Because it doesn't make any goddamn sense for you to save the company money. It does make sense to rack up as many miles as you can on one airline so you can then enjoy them for your personal travel. This is crucial, friends. And so there I was, a new resident to the Bay Area, trying to think about where I was going to fly out, and I do a little research and find that SFO is one of United's hubs. And I found out that their Mileage Plus program was the best. Like, categorically, when you stacked it up, they were the most generous with miles. They gave you the most bonus miles when you signed up. This was just the way to go. And let me tell you, friends, go I did. My job earned me back-to-back 1K years. That is confusingly titled 100,000 miles, and I didn't do any international traveling. This was just domestic. Do you know how often you have to fucking fly to get 100,000 miles in a year domestic? Spoiler alert, the country ain't that goddamn big. But eventually all good things have to come to an end. I left that job. And despite the fact that I do fly around a bit now, I don't fly around like I used to. And so slowly, my 1K status became gold status. And then I was barely able to edge out another year at gold status. Now, gold status, here's what gold status gets you. It's 50,000 miles that you fly in a year. And you get most of what I liked, what I found indispensable. What made United tolerable. And that was I got a free upgrade to the like middle class premium seats that they have up in the front. If you haven't flown in a while, basically or at all, there is first class, right? And then there's economy. And economy, they have now segmented into like economy plus $25 and then everything else that you see and buy at when you buy it on the internet. So I got a free upgrade to that, which also usually meant that I was able to stand by easier because I was automatically going to get upgraded into there. It's a long way of saying it was good. Also, I was able to switch flights within a day. That's also crucial for free. And I got 2 bags at like 50 pounds for free. Sweet. Awesome. Loved it. But now I'm silver. That's 25,000 miles. I barely missed gold. I was at like 45,000 miles, but I missed gold. But it's given me a thought. The thought of, do I now fly with another airline? And if I do I again figure out like, okay, well, should I lock in on one? And furthermore, I live in Oakland. Across the bridge and down the peninsula is SFO. It takes a little while. It's either like about a 45-minute BART ride or about a 30-minute car ride, but that's an Uber that costs a little bit, right? I mean, that sometimes can get up to like $40 if I'm getting back and forth from the airport. So now the question becomes, do I switch to an airline that flies more predominantly out of Oakland? Or do I find a reason to stick with United? Now, tomorrow we will discuss my options. Wednesday, United has made a dramatic appeal to try and keep me. But I need to do this with you, and let me tell you, I will go with whatever you guys say. I'm putting my travel life in your hands. And let me tell you something, Mr. and Mrs. This is not something that I think is to be toyed with. When you've flown as much as I have, you understand that either you do this right or you hate your life. I very much believe in the idea of trying to make your travel experience as painless as possible because it opens up possibilities for you. I am going to do this with your help. You need to email me, jurydaily@gmail.com. Give me your business travel stories. Give me who you pledge fealty to with the airlines. Whatever you have on this. I need my business travelers. I need my salesmen. I need everybody. This is an all hands on deck situation. I have never in my life broken up with an airline. I have never in my life pledged to another airline. It is all up to you this week. JuRyDaily@gmail.com. Again, JuRyDaily@gmail.com. But before we get into more of that tomorrow, we need to do the news. Bud Light might have ruined a massive beer alliance. Friends, there was about to be a beer alliance that was going to rule the beverage world, and Bud Light might have ruined it. This according to the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal writing today, or I think it was Sunday, that it was Bud Light's corn syrup attacking Super Bowl ad that broke down a negotiation that went for months. A rare alliance that was going to unite all of the major beer manufacturers to do a Got Milk style campaign encouraging people to buy more beer. This was like an industry-wide collective. This is like the Pork Authority or, beef. It's what's for dinner. It was a gathering of all the people just to build the general brand of beer. We read now from Sabrina Kadhari's article. A fight between America's two biggest brewers is jeopardizing a proposed Got Milk style campaign intended to help struggling beer makers win back drinkers who have defected to wine and spirits. Anheuser-Busch, Molson Coors, Heineken NV, and Constellation brands have for over a year discussed a potential multi-million-dollar brand-agnostic campaign aimed at improving the overall health of the beer category. But the campaign could now be dead in the water after Miller Coors, Molson's U.S. unit, pulled out of a meeting slated for next month and said the initiative should be paused following a public spat with Bud Light maker InBev. The rift began when InBev ran 3 Super Bowl TV ads earlier this month highlighting Miller Coors' use of corn syrup in Coors Light and Miller Lite. Miller Coors responded on Twitter with a full-page newspaper advertisement addressed to beer drinkers of America, defending its use of corn syrup as part of the brewing process. If you guys don't remember these ads or didn't watch the Super Bowl, here is a clip from the offending ad in which the Dilly Dilly characters for Bud Light, so it's a medieval kind of setting, find a gigantic, comically large barrel of corn syrup and then bring it to various different Game of Thrones-inspired castles for Miller and Coors. They find no room at the inn for Miller because they already had their corn syrup delivered that day. This is the end of that ad.
Oh, brewers of Coors Light, is this corn syrup yours?
Well, well, well. Looks like the corn syrup has come home to be brewed. To be clear, we brew Coors Light with corn syrup.
Bud Light, brewed with no corn syrup.
That's the ad. Like, it's absurdist in its point that beer is brewed with corn syrup, for which I don't know if anybody has any kind of idea about. It was so ridiculous. It was patently ridiculous because apparently Bud Light is brewed with rice syrup. I have no idea. If you were to ask me which one is bad for you, corn syrup or rice syrup, I would have no idea which to pick. If you were to say one of these two will give you a heart attack and kill you, corn syrup or rice syrup, which are you avoiding? I would have no clue. No idea what I would say. But apparently this is going to shatter a carefully negotiated truce between these two because the goddamn Dilly Dilly King had to take a shot at corn syrup. I don't know why I find this so funny. I find it amazing. Just that we are now some executive at Molson, whatever, Miller Coors. We're just watching the Super Bowl. I imagine it's maybe a portly gentleman with a flannel shirt tucked in. And he's, his wife is coming in with some 7-layer bean dip, and this guy he's got a chip and he's ready to dip it in the bean dip, and then all of a sudden the villainous Dilly Dilly King comes on his screen and starts talking about how he brews his beers with corn syrup, and he just slowly his hand involuntarily closes and closes and closes and shatters the chip in a billion different pieces, atomizes the chip. He's so fucking angry. And then he just very, very softly he says, at first it's only his youngest son who can hear him, who's sitting right next to him. He looks up to his father and then the father, now red-faced, slowly turning crimson by the second, just says, "Turn it off." And then the son looks up to him and says, What, Papa? Turn it off. And the son says, what do you mean? But the Super Bowl's just a turn it off. Thwarted again by the villainous Dilly Dilly King. Let's go ahead and get into emails. Email. Steve writes, this is going to be one of those anonymous Diamond Club emails. I've been hearing you talk about Kirsten Gillibrand's ranch incident and it brought back some memories. It also reminded me that there's a certain portion of the country that considers ranch dressing to be its own vital food group. I'm originally from Chicago, but I lived in La Crosse, Wisconsin for 3.5 years. La Crosse is literally across the river from Minnesota and about 30 minutes or so from the Iowa border. Fairly early during my time there, I was with some friends I'd made in the area, lamenting the lack of quality food available, as well as my frustration that anything breaded, deep-fried, and served in a tub of ranch was considered a delicacy. It was at this point that I was asked the following question. Do you know how to get a Wisconsin girl to suck your dick? The answer, dip it in ranch. This got a good laugh from everybody at the bar, and the words dip it in ranch eventually became our go-to toast. While it was the first time I heard this joke, it certainly was not the last, and I've heard about it said about Minnesota girls as well. I moved back to Chicago in 2014, but my go-to toast when out with friends remains dip it in ranch until this day, even though most people have no clue what I'm talking about. P.S. I've never attempted to see if there's any truth behind the joke. If it helps, I'm whiter than ranch. Kyle writes, Des Moines, Iowa resident here. I absolutely love that the woman pushed past Kirsten Gillibrand. Don't interrupt my dinner to preach politics. Also, a small correction. Pizza Ranch just has a Western ranch-style decor. Not really a dipping pizza in ranch reference. It's also super Christian. If it helps, I'm a white atheist that hates ranch. So, let me be clear. And I will be transparent and say I've never been in a pizza ranch. But I do know, I am aware that there is a practice culturally in Iowa of dipping pizza in ranch, and that a popular chain is Pizza Ranch. So despite the fact that it is not specifically laid out that, oh, welcome to Pizza Ranch, this is where you dip pizza in ranch, people indeed dip pizza in ranch at the Pizza Ranch because that is just what is done in Iowa. Does that make sense? Moving on. Jason wrote in about our don't trust your boss topic from a few weeks ago. I had a job at the worst run company I ever worked at. We're talking changing controllers 3 times over less than 2 years, constant turnover, you name it, we had it. But I was thankful for the position. It gave me a job while I was unemployed, let go from a previous job the day after my mom's funeral, and my wife went into labor the day I accepted the role. I wanted to treat them right when I was on the way out. It was time for my salary review, so I put in a month's notice to let them know not to worry about me. They couldn't match the $15K bump I was making by switching to a different company. A week into this month, I'm helping to train my replacement. It was a Friday. She asked me to complete a task which I showed her how to do instead of completing it. The following Monday, my boss called me into a conference room along with HR to tell me that even though he wasn't there Friday to see, several team members complained that I wasn't pulling my weight and that I was terminated effective immediately. It was a petty move, and given how they treated other people who had put in their 2 weeks, it seemed like a personal attack from the controller. To make things worse, 2 jobs later, that guy showed up as a consultant and then was promoted and ended up being my boss again. I found a new position as quickly as I could, which seemed especially prudent when I found out that he had lied to people about my exit from our previous employer. And finally, Yosh writes, I don't know if you're still doing anonymous crimes or if even this was technically a crime, but it should be. While traveling and far from home, a young woman decided I tickled her fancy, and I decided I should stay with her instead of at my hotel for the evening. She turns on some mood music, but it wasn't my mood. In fact, it sounded to me like a man trying to go through a sewn-shut butthole. I asked her to play something else, and she said I had to listen to the album. I told her I wanted to leave. She ran and physically blocked the door. So I asked to use the bathroom. I shit in her tub and climbed out the window. This wasn't my finest moment, but in my defense, she wouldn't let me leave via the door. Anyway, if you ever meet a girl in Indianapolis who won't let you use her bathroom, it's probably my fault. Yosh. I'm going to take this music down. We're going to bring this one in. Yosh, we need to have a heart-to-heart. Number 1, what was that music? I need to know. Number 2, what kind of drugs were you on? There is a 0% chance that drugs are not involved in a story like that, and I just, for scientific reasons, need to know what drugs you were on. I've got some guesses. I've got guesses on what drugs were involved, but I would prefer to know for sure because I'm a man of science and not some willy-nilly guesser. I want to remind everybody that you can go ahead and email us at jurydaily@gmail.com. I want to thank our producers, the Jen, PD Rave, Non-Specific Rock and Roll Martian, Joe Acosta, well, James, the OG Brito, well, and Matthew B. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Justin R. Young, and join our Discord at bit.ly/jury Discord. That is bit.ly/JURYDISCORD. And one more reminder. We got a live show. It's me, Brian Brushwood, the Ice Cream Social, Jomo and the Possum Posse, Dual Core, and so many special guests I can't even name them all. Go ahead and get your tickets by triggering your voice assistant right now and saying podcastlink.com/night attack. Till next time, is your old pal Justin Robert Young telling you to please give a round of applause to Mr. Wacky. But more importantly, please, don't
Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh, brewers of Coors Light, is this corn syrup yours? Well,